Hey, everybody. You're about to hear a brief retelling of the movie I've Had Enough of a Million. Enjoy the movie. A prisoner escapes from prison and retrieves a stashed suitcase with a stolen $1 million. At the same time, 11-year-old Preston complains to the fish that his older brothers use his room as a warehouse and have stolen a jar with all his savings, and it happens with the permission of his father. They're in business, they're making money. And Daddy likes money, so let them keep their stuff at Junior's. He takes Preston to a classmate's birthday party at an amusement park and gives him $2 so that his son won't deny himself anything. The prankster Butch mocks our hero, and the kids buy themselves a lot of tokens, but Preston only has enough for 6. And to ride the roller coaster you need 7 tokens, and Preston can only look enviously at other children and ride on rides for the youngest. Laughing at the poor classmate is another kid's pastime. When asked, "Are we poor?" parents say they're just controlling expenses. Brothers go to a baseball game, they have pockets full of money. It's birthday money that Preston wants. Mom handed over a letter from Grandma, but inside wasn't cash, it was a check. Plus, Grandma forgot to include the amount. $11 to account for inflation. The kid figured if he put it in the bank, he'd make $1 million in 342,000 years. The escaped convict dressed up and went to the bank to see his ex-boyfriend, who ratted him out in court. The thing is, the stolen money is easily traceable by serial numbers, and Quigley wants a new banknote. Tomorrow his man named Juice will show up here with a check for $1 million, and Biederman will have to hand over the amount in cash. Preston came into the same bank and got a glimpse of Shay Stanley, the customer service girl. The kid brought his $11 to open an account. However, the minimum amount for that is $200, and Preston had to leave, which he did without taking his eyes off the girl. Biederman handed Quigley the time checks. At the same moment, Butch snatched his gift check out of Preston's hands and ran away. The boy fell and his bicycle was hit by Quigley's car. The criminal wanted to drive away as if nothing had happened, but because of Butch's shouts a crowd had gathered around, and he decided to pay off the victim quickly. Then showed a police car. Quigley slipped the kid a signed check and fled. His parents punished Preston for the bike and put him under house arrest. How he wished he had his own house and lived by his own rules. Only now did he see that the person was unfilled. Preston added his information and at first wanted to type in the amount of $200, then $1,000, but finally he didn't restrain himself and typed $1 million on the computer. The next morning the kid went back to the bank to cash the check, and the woman behind the counter just laughed at him, even though she took him to the supervisor Biederman. The man looked at the signatures, at the amount, and immediately asked the employee to return to the hall. "Jess," Biederman clarified. "Thanks, I'm not thirsty," Preston replied, "and he doesn't work for Quigley, he just hit on him." Biederman laughed and burned the check, then opened the safe and counted out exactly $1 million. Then the real Juice showed up at the bank with a check for $1 million. Preston's backpack was filled with banknotes, and as he was leaving he ran into Juice, and for a moment he had the backpack with the money in his hands. Preston flies out of the bank, and Biederman assures Juice that it's all in the bag. The bandit doesn't understand what Biederman is talking about and threatens the banker, and only then he realizes how screwed up he is. The first thing Preston is going to do is to buy himself a house that looks like the castle he has been dreaming of for so long. The guy used a speech synthesizer to talk to the realtor, so he happened to be bidding on a house with Quigley right now and outbid him by offering twice as much. Looking at the Apple computer, the guy came up with the new name Macintosh. Having bought the house, Preston of course took a money shower. Quigley and his partner pressed Biederman, and during the showdown he remembered signing the kid's check with the bike. Shay turns out to be an FBI agent and reports suspicious personalities at Biederman's. Preston fled the house, having previously summoned himself a limo. The boy decided to go shopping and change his clothes. Then they bought a TV and music center, a massage chair, and the coolest toys. Henry the driver turned out to be a good partner for pranks. He got an expensive watch for his company, and Preston pleased himself with a huge bucket of ice cream. The boy approached Shay when she went out for an evening jog and offered her a ride in his boss Macintosh's car. Preston's childish maximalism translated into ordering dozens of boxes of cookies and cartons of sodas. Furious with toys do not give his father a way through, he decided to deal with it and was quite surprised to see his son on the roof of the house. He explains that he works for a certain Mr. McIntosh, and if the father does not know this McIntosh, the rich man himself knows everything about him. One word from Preston and the road was cleared. The kid has turned his yard into an amusement park, and Henry keeps him company in the games for a good fee. Biederman's cash was marked and paid for by McIntosh. Bandits are looking out for Preston at the water park, and a bully named Butch has tried to get into his house. The boy commands him to kick him out. Preston doesn't need a water park, he has his own. He has a visitor, Shay, who wants to meet Mr. McIntosh. She checked out Preston's workspace and offered to open an account for him right away. She took some pictures herself. Preston flew into the pool and handed the girl $200. Perhaps Mr. McIntosh will want to open a bank account, too. He is a businessman and is always busy answering to the boy, but Preston is always free for her and will send a car for her tonight. Preston asks Henry to get him ready for the date, and he tells him everything he knows about women. Preston is kind of still under house arrest, and his father isn't going to let him out of the house tonight, but according to the boy, the rich man McIntosh is interested in his project, and tonight is the day he's supposed to bring it to the businessman. After getting his parents' consent, Preston adjusts his jacket and heads out on a date. He barely has the strength to pull up the chair Shay is sitting in. The agent asks the boy about Mr. McIntosh, who supposedly asked to give the girl jewelry, but she refuses. It's too expensive. She wonders what exactly Mr. McIntosh does. Preston has also prepared a few questions, like Shay is married, how tall was her smallest boyfriend? The boy swayed in his chair, causing him to flip the tablecloth over himself, and then he and Shay went to eat hamburgers. Preston led the girl to the fountain area, and dozens of jets began to hit from below. It was at this point that the couple was seen by the criminals and chased after them. Preston managed to escape in a limousine. Shay thanked the kid for the evening, and he invited her to Mr. McIntosh's birthday party. The boy really hated to let the lady go, but now he has to think about his birthday party. The parents wondered why they had never seen the mysterious rich man, and after all, his older sons were already working for him. Preston hired party builder Yvonne. The businesswoman reached into her backpack and counted out $1,000 deposit to herself. Henry has to leave, and now Preston has no one to play with, since he has no other friends. The boy with the dough went to the park out of envy, watching the kids playing. The criminal trio found him again and chased him. Driving straight through the park, Quigley almost reached the kid, but the car went no further. Falling off his bike, Preston dropped his backpack. Jew swooped down on him, but flew right past him. The chase continues. The backpack is found by some kid, but Preston immediately retrieves it, leaving the stranger with only one pack. The criminals end up in a car crash. But then Butch got his hands on them. Ivana's hired a bunch of people to decorate the house, and it looks like Preston's party's gonna cost him a fortune. Butch was hoping to be bribed, but Quigley dangles him off the roof of the building, and the redhead immediately spills everything he knows about Preston. Shay hopes to finally see Mr. McIntosh today. The brothers hint to the younger one that she might be a money hunter. When she meets him, she mentions Mr. McIntosh every time because all she wants is his fortune. Yvonne announces the party in the newspaper, and many guests arrive. Henry in between remembered the expression, fool and gold. No matter how much money a fool is given, he will soon have nothing left. There was a pile of presents on the table, but just pushed away from them. It's all for Mr. McIntosh. Preston is looking all over Shay. She meanwhile is discussing with the other agents how she's going to proceed. The tables are littered with some crap, and there isn't even any ice cream. Yvonne gave Preston the bill, and he was stunned to find out that the party cost him $100,000. Preston checked his balance and found out he had no money left. He only had $332 left. All his money was gone. Suddenly, Preston's father walked into the office and asked McIntosh to send his son home early. He had been working too hard lately. Money had become very important to him, and it was his fault. His father was too demanding and deprived him of his childhood. "I want to go home," said the boy, but his father had already left. Preston tried to find Henry, but he had already left him. He was a friend for the money, after all. Nick entered the office. She was once again looking specifically for Macintosh. Hearing this, the boy chased the girl away and ran away. The bandits broke into Preston's house, but it was empty. Butch directs them to Macintosh's house. Yvonne demands her money and ends the party. Preston takes the microphone and asks all the guests to leave. Those grabbed their gifts and someone carried away the food as well. The boy was left alone in the big house. There was a knock on the door. Preston hoped it was Henry returning, but bandits burst in and demanded to know where Macintosh was. They are the first to find out that there is no Macintosh, and that Preston has spent $1 million in just 6 days. Taking advantage of the criminals' confusion, Preston escaped through the pipe. Juice was thrown in his wake, and the chubby Biederman pounced on the brownies. Juice was trapped and shot at with baseballs. The boy hides from the ringleader between the tables. He turns them over and peers into the darkness, but finds himself trapped inside a metal ball. Preston rolls it into his car and ends up throwing it into the pool. The boy was afraid that he had drowned the villain, but fell into a trap. However, FBI agents came running to Preston's rescue. They're wondering who this Macintosh is after all. "I am Macintosh," Quigley declares, and asks him to get off his property. He is immediately arrested for money laundering and fraud. The associates are also arrested. The kid asked Shane to show his badge and is upset that their date was her job. Preston was picked up by his father, and waiting for him outside was Henry, who actually excused himself to buy a bucket of ice cream for a friend that was sorely missed at the party. At home, Preston's family was waiting for him with a cake and asked him to make a wish. He looked at the picture and wished for Shay.